All right, let's dive into some of the biggest pop culture moments grabbing everyone's attention this week.
And we're taking a cue from Vanity Fair's unpopular culture section for this deep dive. They always seem to unearth these fascinating under-the-radar trends.
Absolutely. It's like their unpopular section is our crystal ball into what everyone will be talking about next week. This week, they've got me thinking about everything from, like, marketing overload to, get this, the ethics of hurricane reporting.
Sounds intense.
And, of course, we have to touch on the entertainment we should all be adding to, or maybe scratching off, our watch lists.
Can't wait to hear those recommendations.
Well, we've got to start with the one that seems to be everywhere, even though it hasn't even hit theaters yet. The Wicked movie.
Ah, yes, the pre-release buzz is almost deafening. Everyone and their dog seems to have an opinion on it.
Right. And the Vanity Fair article really honed in on this almost insane marketing blitz surrounding it. I mean, is it just me? Or have we been bombarded with trailers and posters for, like, months now?
It's true. I feel like I've seen that green face paint everywhere I turn. It's unusual for a musical, to say the least. You usually see this kind of marketing push for those big action flicks.
Yeah, like those superhero movies that seem to come out every other week.
Exactly. So it makes you think, are studios catching on to the fact that Broadway musicals have this huge, dedicated fan base?
Makes sense, right? It's almost like they've realized they can leverage that built-in nostalgia factor to hopefully guarantee a box office smash.
Right, it's almost a sure thing, or at least a less risky bet than some unknown quantity. But speaking of reactions, the article also touched on how not everyone's thrilled with that recreated iconic poster.
You know the one with Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo? I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, it's like, how do you recapture that magic of the original? You can't please everyone, right?
Totally. But it's a good reminder of how difficult it can be to adapt something so beloved for the big screen. You're always going to have those different opinions and expectations.
It's a tightrope walk between honoring the source material and at the same time trying to bring something new to the table. It's a delicate dance. But hey, speaking of generating buzz, let's talk about Squid Game.
Oh man, Squid Game. That's another one that's guaranteed to get people talking. Or maybe hiding behind their couches.
Season 2 drops on Netflix in December, and let me tell you, that Vanity Fair writer did not hold back on their thoughts about the first season.
They seemed, well, a little traumatized, if I'm being honest.
To put it lightly, they actually had to stop watching at one point, said it was just too intense.
Wow. It's definitely not for the faint of heart. And speaking of intense Squid Game experiences, the article also mentioned that a Squid Game experience in New York City.
Oh yeah, I've heard about that. You know, I actually went to that recently.
No way. Wait, you're kidding.
Seriously, I'm dying to hear what you thought because that Vanity Fair writer, they were not a fan, especially those pink soldiers.
Oh, tell me about it. Let's just say seeing those creepy masks in person is definitely unsettling, like something out of a nightmare. The article definitely nailed that.
It really makes you think about why we're drawn to these immersive experiences, especially those based on shows like Squid Game. It's like we want that adrenaline rush, even if it's mixed with a bit of existential dread.
It's like a safe space to confront those primal fears.
Maybe. Or maybe it's just the novelty of it all, like when else are you going to run around a life-size Squid Game set?
Exactly. It's an experience. It'll be really interesting to see how people react to season 2, especially after that intense first season. But on a completely different note, intense in a whole other way.
Yeah.
The article also touched on Anderson Cooper and that whole hurricane fiasco.
Talk about a reality check. Mother Nature doesn't care if you're a seasoned journalist or a newbie, right?
You said it. And the whole thing really got me thinking about the expectations we put on reporters, especially those covering extreme weather. I mean, where's the line between getting the story and just putting yourself in harm's way?
It's like we've gotten used to seeing these reporters battling the elements, almost like it validates how bad the storm is, you know?
Right. But at a certain point, isn't it more important to prioritize safety?
Right. It's a conversation we see popping up more and more, especially with climate change reporting. Like the risks are getting very real.
No doubt. It's like, hey, we get it. The hurricane's dangerous. You don't have to stand right in the middle of it to convince us.
It's true. The Vanity Fair article made this kind of tongue-in-cheek observation about it.
What was it?
Well, they said, and I'm paraphrasing, it's kind of ironic almost, like, I don't know, maybe even, well,
Spit it out.
okay. They basically said, and I quote, that it's homophobic to deny Anderson Cooper tequila but send him into a hurricane.
Oh, wow. They went there.
A little dark humor, maybe, But I get their point. It highlights how desensitized we've become. We're caught up in the spectacle.
Oh, yeah. For sure. It's good to step back sometimes and remember the human cost of these events. Even if something is, every day is watching the news. But, hey, on a lighter note, let's talk recommendations. They had some good ones this week.
Always the best part. What did they unearth for us this time?
Well, first up, they are loving We Live in Time. You know that one with Andrew Garfield?
Oh, yeah. I've heard good things.
It sounds really good, actually. And anything with Andrew Garfield, I'm there.
He's so good. He's one of those actors that just sucks you in, no matter the role.
He's got this amazing ability to portray vulnerability and strength at the same time. And his character choices, always so interesting. What did the article highlight about this one?
They were really drawn to the emotional depth. They said it's a love story, but also touches on those themes of grief, loss, and just how time passes.
Oh, I feel like I need tissues just hearing about it.
Yeah.
Like a good cry.
Exactly. Those can be the best kinds of movies. What else is on the list? What about something a bit lighter?
Well, for those guaranteed laughs, they highly recommend Abbott Elementary.
Such a good show.
I know. And they made a good point about how impressive it is that it keeps that comedic edge, even with over 20 episodes per season.
Right. So many shows these days prioritize quantity over quality, so it's refreshing.
Tell me about it. I feel like I'm always weeding through shows trying to find the hidden gems.
Right. You have to sift through the muck.
And speaking of gems, as we head into spooky season, they suggested checking out this series called Teacup on Peacock.
Ooh, Teacup. Never heard of it.
Me neither. It's one of those psychological thrillers. Small town, dark secret, you get the picture.
Ooh, right up my alley. Definitely adding that to my list. But, all right, let's be real. What should we be avoiding this week?
Oh, they were very clear about this one. Avoid Terrifier 3, like the plague.
Oh, yeah, that's the super gory one, right?
To say the least. Apparently, it takes gore to a whole new level. I mean, we're talking, you're going to need a shower after this level.
Yeah, I think I read that one review. Didn't they say something like, so gross you'll need to vomit?
Yep, that was the one. Definitely not for the faint of heart or stomach.
It does beg the question, though. This obsession with extreme content, whether it's Squid Game or, well, Terrifier 3, why are we drawn to it? Is it escapism? A way to face our fears head on? What's the deal?
It's a great question. I think it speaks to our complex relationship with entertainment. We crave things that challenge us, push us outside those comfort zones. It's true. Sometimes you just need to know what to avoid,
Absolutely. Life's too short for bad entertainment, especially when there's so much good stuff out there.
Right. But between the wicked hype and those Squid Game anxieties, and even Anderson Cooper braving a hurricane, it's got me thinking about the impact pop culture has on us,
For sure. It's easy to forget that these shows, these movies, they're not just distractions. They reflect our anxieties, our values, sometimes even our darkest fears. It's all there on the surface.
Yeah. And The Wicked Thing is a perfect example. It hasn't even premiered, and people are already going nuts. That whole unpopular culture thing from that Vanity Fair article really struck a chord with me. Sometimes the things everyone's talking about, well, they're also the things causing the most debate.
No doubt. And that marketing blitz. I mean, studios are playing a dangerous game, building all that hype. What if the movie doesn't deliver?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Can anything live up to that level of expectation? And those fan reactions to the new poster, talk about passionate.
It shows how deeply people connect with this story. I mean, Wicked offers a completely new perspective on this classic, right? No wonder fans are so protective. Any adaptation has to walk a fine line.
I know. It's like, how do you honor the original while still bringing something new?
Exactly. And let's be real, everyone has their own vision of how these stories should look on screen. We're all armchair directors, right?
100%. It's bound to happen.
Right. Sometimes it doesn't live up to our imaginations. But that's part of the fun, isn't it? Sparks those conversations, makes us question things, keeps those pop culture debates alive.
Keeps it interesting. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I think it comes down to this. Stay curious, embrace those unexpected trends, and don't be afraid to jump into those conversations.
Even if they get a little heated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And hey, maybe approach those super gory horror films with a little caution,
Always good advice.
Until next time, everyone, happy watching and happy debating.